investigation. This boy has.
There is not relating this to me.
There is no investigation. This boy has.
There is not relating this to me.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
But I have to put her on the side and where
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
There is no investigation. This boy
There
has.
is not relating this to me. Right, idiot.
I've done my best. It's hard, you know, that's real tough.
But I have to put her on the side and where
What's happening?
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me.
Good to see you. Good to be here.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
Live from the NBD Production Studios, you're in the lab with your host, Joshua Diaz. That's me. Good to see you.
This boy has.
It is Thursday, March 9th.
But I have to put her
Welcome.
on the side and where about the boys.
Folks, we got a special guest tonight. Great friend of the show. Great friend of the show. You might know him from
F's and stuff.
his many appearances on Nancy Grace, Court TV, News Nation,
But I have to put her
and he's the host of The Interview
on
Room.
the side and where about the boys.
Best hair in the game, no questions. Asked Mr. Chris McDonough. How are you, Chris?
Josh, thank you. Enough already.
Yeah.
This. Oh my gosh. Yo,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for letting me come. I mean, come on. It's
Hey.
good to see you.
It's good to see you too, man. Been a little bit. I know we've both been busy and just living, you know, and so I'm happy to have you here. Good to see you as always. How you been?
I've been doing great, buddy. Staying out of trouble, laying low as much as possible, and getting to see great friends when I can jump in here. Love your channel. And everybody subscribe. Keep hitting those numbers. We're going to get him to 100,000. That's the goal. If not,
Awesome.
more. I hope you pass me. I really do. One day, I just want you to take off. You deserve it. You deserve it.
Well, I appreciate you saying
How
that,
you been?
Chris.
How you
I've been great.
How's
Been
your
doing
hair?
well. Huh?
How's your hair? Did you get a haircut? Oh no. Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Your family, your boys are doing great.
Ronell's birthday is today, 18.
I knew. Yeah.
Mr.
Happy birthday.
18-year-old.
Take him for a happy meal. Where'd you take him?
I asked him what he wanted for dinner, and he wanted me to make spaghetti. So that's what I did.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's just the last meal I'm ever going to make you. So here you go. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, he's still in high school and doing well.
So are you like Wolfgang Puck type of spaghetti maker, or what kind of guy are you?
What is that? Like, what does Wolfgang Puck do?
If you have to ask, then
I'm more of an Emeril Lagasse kind of guy.
like a Chef Boyardee. What are
Yeah, Chef Boyardee is, yeah.
okay?
Something. Yeah.
No, it's good.
I'm good
So,
at like
do you throw it against the wall till it sticks? We
I
got to get some lessons from Mary. Oh,
well, yes, I do need to, but I do not throw it against the wall. Basically what I do is I feed it to Macho and Otis, and if they eat it, then we're good.
exactly.
If it's not poison, then we'll eat it. You know, I don't really care about that. I honestly care about how things taste that much. It doesn't really concern me. But they like it. So I just eat, I cook and eat it. If they say it's good, it could taste like crap to me. I would never be able to tell because I don't really care. Could be good spaghetti, could be bad spaghetti. It's the same to me.
What do you cook really well? Let's learn.
I'm actually really good at like omelets.
That's pretty tough.
Is it?
Wait, like 3 omelets, 2, 3 eggs, 2 eggs. What are you good at? I'm a
jack of all eggs.
You're the scrambler.
I can scramble. Yeah, I can scramble. I can scramble. I can fry. Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm not that good at like.
Can you make corn dogs?
Yes, I can. Okay. In a pinch too. Like yes, absolutely. And I can warm them up just as well. And I like cooking ribs. I'm more of like a smoker guy. Like I smoke stuff on my Traeger a lot, but Hot Pockets, I'm really good at Hot Pockets. Minute rice, I'm good at that.
You Hot Pockets, you like make them lava hot?
Yeah, they're little. So have you ever had little pizza rolls?
I have.
Okay. So those things are like little lava rocks because you can't tell on the outside how hot they really are until you bite into it. And then you get a 3rd degree burn sometimes.
Yeah, it's not. It's paramedics on standby.
Like there was a time when I couldn't taste anything for 2 weeks after that. Just nothing appealed to me. No, it was like the Rona times 2, and yeah, those little devils, man, they sure get you. And the other day, I'll tell you this, and don't tell anybody I told you because it's embarrassing.
No, nobody's listening.
That's good. So I was eating a Hot Pocket and I was like in a hurry. So I take a bite of the Hot Pocket and the cheese falls down and hits my chin. And I had something in this hand, something in this hand, and I couldn't do anything.
Yeah. And you were at the bank teller. And what did she say?
She said, "Calm down, fat boy."
Is that a deposit, sir?
Yeah, it hurt. Really. I was, I had a friend tell me one time that he rode a motorcycle while eating soup in San Francisco. And I was just like, there's no way that you could do that. And then we were driving somewhere and he was eating hot wings, driving a stick shift, dipping them into blue cheese. Unbelievable. And it was such a talent. And I was so proud of him.
Guy's got skill. He's got skill.
He's got major skill, man. So Chris, you covered the Murdoch case. You think they got it right? Dude,
was that crazy or what? What do you think?
It was insane. It was really sad. Like it was just a really troubling, the wake of destruction that was left by that man single-handedly.
Yeah.
Is about as catastrophic as you can get. I mean, he ruined, not only was he convicted of killing his wife and son, but he just screwed a lot of people out of a lot of stuff.
Bad man. He's but he's paying the price now. I mean, you got to love the jury system. The system worked, and love that judge. I mean, man, was that judge was he's awesome or what? Did I lose you?
No, you did not. Check this out. The judge, he was spectacular. He was one of the very best judges I'd ever seen do anything. When it comes to the way that he sentenced him, it was like a scolding, basically, like in a big way. So
let's answer early Tan's question.
who's that?
I don't know. She said, Lab, I got a question for McDonough. Why are you on you? Yeah.
You really want to answer it? You don't have to answer that.
Why not?
I don't know. Go for it.
Why are you on YouTube if your career was so successful? I'm hoping for your answer. I don't know. It's a great question. Why am I on YouTube?
That's a good question. Great. Good question. Solid.
Yeah.
What the hell does that have to do with being on YouTube, having a successful career? I know a lot of professionals that are on YouTube. A lot of them. Lawyers, detectives.
Nancy Grace. Fox News.
Fox News.
CNN. MSNBC. Maybe you can get me the answer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Great question, though. Appreciate you.
I'm hopeful for your answer. There you go.
There you go. We answered it. Yeah. So finish your thought. Murdoch, bad boy.
Who? Me or Murdoch? Oh man, he's just absolutely the worst. But the judge, he was just the best. He was just the best ever. And it sucks that he is going to age out. Like, I hate that a lot.
Yeah, there's a mandatory retirement.
I mean, that makes sense. Chris, I heard recently, this is just what I've heard, so don't quote me on it, okay?
Yep.
But I heard that you went on a vacation to the islands. This is just what I heard, and the paparazzi were out there. And remember, I think it was Inside Edition said that you flew into Idaho on a private jet or something. Do you remember that you touched down and found a glove there? And, so I know that like TMZ and all these places are after you constantly. And so I was just trying to, find out where you were. So I went to the library and
What'd you find?
The library. What's that?
What'd you find?
I found something.
Did you get some of those early career pictures that early Tan is talking about? Did you get some of those?
Yeah. And then I got those and I was like, God, why is this guy on YouTube? It's such a successful career. Why would you be on YouTube, man? Like,
show them what I look like before I was on YouTube.
Okay. So here is the exclusive photo that I have found.
Early Tam, pay attention.
All right. So this will answer your question. Here we go. Bam.
Boom. That's why I'm on YouTube.
Right there, baby. Look at that.
Aloha. That's Diamond Head in the background. Right.
That's a beautiful
there.
Place.
That is the answer.
I mean, you look phenomenal and you make fun of me about having a man bun, but like you have one as well.
I had just gotten back from Pennsylvania.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
And they flew me into Hawaii for a quick photo shoot. And you know where I went? I think many of the lab rats will know. I went to the Hershey Kisses factory.
Yeah, and you wore one on your head. Is that what you're telling me?
I had to do my hair and said I'm going on YouTube and I need a look. And this is what came, to them.
Right.
It's a win. It's a win.
Well, I was going to tell you that, or I was thinking when you said that you went to Pennsylvania, I was like, oh, he's going to go tour the old, like the coal mines and stuff like that. Nope. You went to the Hershey Kiss factory.
Yep. That's exactly
Hershey,
right.
Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And you look good. No, you look good. You look tan.
This was, I was a little younger in this picture. Obviously, it was early in my career, before anything, ever took place. And, I was inspired by
before your successful career.
before my successful Hawaii 5-0. Yes, Mary saw me on the set of H50, the Popo. 5-0 is here. And
right.
But you know what really inspired me about this particular photo shoot? It really was the lights in Hershey, Pennsylvania. All the lights were shaped like Hershey Kisses. So when I sat down, the guy said, "What do you want? A Mo, a Larry, a Curly?" I said, "You know what? Just give me the light, the Hershey light."
Right.
And this was the result. I think I look pretty good in this one. What do you think?
I think that you look fantastic, and I think that Karen should hold on to you extra tight while walking around town. Because hold you by your man bun.
Absolutely. And the other reason I'm on YouTube is because they slapped my mother when I was born. So I needed something to do with my extra.
I'm super confused about that question. I don't understand the thought. I really don't and I'm not trying to mock this person or whatever, but I really don't understand the question. What is
They're having a bad day? Let them be.
I know, but I guess I just don't understand it. But you get a question, right? There's hundreds of people here watching, thousands of people will watch this, and that's your question. It's weird. And even if it is a troll, it's like a terrible troll.
Here's the good news. Everybody in chat's going to have a great evening. We're going to visit together.
Absolutely.
We're going to be respectful to not only the victims, the witnesses, but to each other.
You're going to be respectful. I'll be Josh.
Well, and hopefully, I just spilt the pistachios next to me. Sorry.
You can't let Buddy get
I went
those.
off camera for a minute. I know he can't have any of this. He's over in his bed. By the way, he's been doing really good, but Josh.
That's really good to hear. He's such a cute dog. So
a lot of folks don't know how much we really talk.
No, they have no idea. One of the things when people are like, oh, like Chris hasn't been around, or Chris, it's like, okay, first of all, we do our own shows, we have our own lives, we're doing things, but we probably speak every day or every other day, at least text message, if not on the phone. We talk all the time, and I don't think people realize that we are actually truly in real life
friends. Yeah.
And like we've said this 100 times, when all this YouTube and everything goes away, we're still going to be friends. When your illustrious career on YouTube, your second successful career on YouTube is over, we'll still be friends, but no, I don't think people understand that. And I have tried to, say that it's just, we're just friends, and people can understand that, or they don't. Hold on one second here. Chris and Josh, glad to see both of you guys. Thank you. Chris is one of the best on YouTube, including Josh, also two great creators that does excellent work. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Michelle. Very kind. See the offset, right?
Yeah. People, please be kind in chat. Great collab. I love that. That's funny. Thank you, Momo Shark. That's good stuff. Yes, we are not boycotting Hershey. That's where Chris gets his hair done. You make a good team. We're good friends, and that's the best part about it. My two favorites. Wow, I hear that sometimes. And look who it is. One of my favorites, Mary Hartman.
Hi, Mary.
Hello, Chris and Josh. So glad to see you both. Good to see you too, Mary. Mary came on here last week and just lit it on fire. I mean, just a wonderful, honest interview. It's a shame what people like to do start picking people apart that are actual victims, and that's just standard internet weirdness. People wouldn't do that in real life, I'll tell you that. Because if you were to do that in like a public square, I mean, you'd probably be mocked out of town, which you should be.
Well, there's a phenomenon, right? This is the only place. The one thing that's great about Mary is she's consistent with the truth. The truth will set you free. She's always, it doesn't matter what channel she goes on, because, even though other people have other motives,
right?
They can't trip her up, because everything that she says is what she says and how it happened. And people that lie, you can't do that. You can't do that, because you're going to get a different story every time. But with Mary, it's straight up. You know what people aren't talking about enough on the other channels, I guess, because they always like to pick on Mary and Jeannie, is the other victim. Nobody wants to talk about that victim. And
no,
I've actually held off a couple of times because she's called me and wanted to come on and set the record straight. And by the way, this is a completely independent human being that was victimized, essayed. And you know what? Nobody can refute that at that point, because now you can take Jeannie and Mary out of the equation, but you can't take a total stranger out of the equation.
Well, that doesn't fit into the narrative of, well, they did this because they want our father's house or something like that. That takes away from that narrative. And so
and Mary knows her. Mary knows her. He knows that because she was one of the 3 statements that Don was talking about in custody that the Roy Police Department read to him.
And Martha Riddle Garcia says, I think people don't understand how people can become such close friends and not have met. I have that relationship with my admins on Facebook, of course. Glad to catch you two together. Candace Hardwick, a member for 3 months. Appreciate you very much. And we love Mary and stand by you 100%. Amalu. I think I pronounced that right, and been a member for 3 months. So thank you so much as well. So I've been talking about the Summer Wells case, and I've offered flyers to Don, which it sounds like he may accept. However, there's always a however here. All right, hold on 1 second. Okay, Early 10. I'm just gonna ask you this once. I'm gonna talk about whoever I want, however I want to talk about them. You can go start your YouTube channel, hang out, have a successful career, and kiss the ass of pedophiles. I don't care. See you later. Bye. 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 People are just weird, man. They really are. Okay. Will Summer's body ever be found? We can talk about that here in a minute. So here's the whole thing. Obviously Don and I have went back and forth for some time about things, and sometimes we are he's listening and I'm listening, and then there's sometimes where it just gets really contentious, and we both get mad at each other for whatever reason. But after being blocked and after being cussed out and whatever, and genuinely, so I offer this olive branch. Look, I want to get you guys flyers so you can pass out, and I would be more than happy to do that for you. If you truly think that we aren't doing anything for Summer, well, then at least I could get you some flyers, because I think that will help. All right. And so it sounds like, he was into it, then we had this conversation, and basically the way that it ended was me telling him, I don't want to, I don't want to do this. You're going to piss me off because of the way that you're acting and talking about people, and basically thumbing his nose up at help. All right. It's corrupt. Everybody's corrupt. You know, he was pissed about the timeline. You know, all that kind of stuff. Hold on one second. Sorry. Oh, let me close it. Okay. You won't hear that anymore. And so I try and offer him, you know, this help and say, hey, like, this is what can be done. You should ask for outside help publicly. And basically he's like, he kind of thumbs his nose up at it. That's fine. But, you know, I'm telling him like what can be done to help. And his whole thing is, you know, this is about Summer. This isn't about you. I'm just, I don't know what you're like. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Like that's what we're talking about here. I'm trying to talk to you. And that's when I told him, look, this is where you and I have a major separation, because you think, yeah, you know, you accuse it, oh, you're just fishing for stuff. And I don't need to fish for anything. Like, it is what it is. He doesn't want to talk about the timeline at all, Chris. And he made that very, very clear to me. Why? I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
You know, I mean, you got to look at the totality of the circumstances. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that just don't make sense. There are things that do make sense. There are things that, you know, they try to stick, a watermelon through a keyhole. And the only way you can do that is you got to cut it up and take your time to try to squish it through. And then eventually you discover that it all falls apart. So that's why the truth is a constant. It's a consistent, straight line, and you follow the evidence. The truth is the evidence, and you don't deviate from that. And no matter, what people say, that doesn't mean a lot. It's what you see and what they do. And that's why, what I've always liked, about your channel is you are a constant. You're a straight arrow, and people don't like that. People don't like me, but I'm okay with that. I report to two people: God and my wife, and my family. That's it. Everybody else is, the comment, 10 minutes ago. I mean, we hadn't even started and we were already getting, hammered. So that's just life. That's just part of life. And the thing about consistency, though, when you commit crime, is you have to, and I think Murdoch gave us a really super good master class on master manipulation, the ability to lie with intelligence. I mean, his lies were so almost believable at times. And that, he had people going, well, he didn't do it. There's no way, and they're pouncing all over it. But if you look at his behavior in relationship to those lies, okay, then this became his enemy. Okay, the mouth, right? That's where, God's pretty clear about the tongue is as sharp as a two-edged sword. Okay, it's pretty consistent, because this can get you into more trouble than these, right? Than these. Just ask any woman in the world, what's the most consistent, admirable trait, within a relationship, and they're going to say listening is probably high up there. I would say that's one of the high points. And the thing about Murdoch and the thing about DW is they have gotten themselves so deep. And he got himself so deep. Murdoch did. Well, if I would submit to you, if you go back and you start listening to what DW said from the very beginning to even today, and you lined them up with as much interest as everybody did with Murdoch, you're going to find the same consistency. That's why he doesn't like me. One of the reasons.
Well, look, he doesn't like me much either, and you know the beginning of that conversation.
I'll talk to him again as much as he wants, but I want to talk about the shed.
Okay, well, he claims, and I'll tell you this, that the three boys were at the bottom of the hill, on the side of the hill, searching, and that's why he pulled up there. That's the answer that I got from him. Maybe he saw him. I don't know. I mean, great. Then let's talk. That's not what was said at first, by the way.
Right. I mean, this is just one of those things where you've got to stay on the evidence. And remember, every statement is evidence. Look what just happened with Murdoch. Every statement became evidence.
Right. All right.
And, so what's the evidence in Summer's case right now? Right? What's the evidence? The evidence is, the parents, somebody makes a 911 call, mom, about a 5-year-old little girl. And by the way, she's still 5 because she hasn't had her birthdays yet. Even though the dates have passed, she's still listed as 5 years old.
That is common in missing children's case, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Is that what is taught as well?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because a child doesn't age if they don't know where the child is. And once they recover the child, then that age changes if the child's alive. But until that time, Summer's 5 years old. Her Amber Alert is 5 years old. It's not 7, not 6. Okay. Now, so that tells us something about how the big picture works, right? And so what's the evidence? I mean, the evidence right now is, again, we go back and forth to this, I turn around, she's in the house, she's down in the basement. But how do you know she's in the basement? Because the boy said she was there. Okay. So you go down in the basement and she's not there. She vanished. But did she go to the basement? Do we know that? Is there evidence that she went into the basement?
No.
Is there evidence that she went into the house?
Other than Candace saying that she did, no.
Okay. Then there you go.
Yeah, and that, along with so many other things, and one thing that I had really been interested in was the card team. Okay. Now, I knew loosely about the card team and kind of what they were about, but I dug in. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is a highly skilled, highly trained response team who is called out about every month. They have about 60 to 70 agents,
mm-hmm.
and they show up when they are requested. Like if there is a possibility that there was a child being abducted, and they have a 90% solvability rate, meaning that they do, whether they find the child alive or not, they do find the child, or they find evidence that the child has been abducted, or they find the child alive, deceased, and they find the perpetrator. The card team has specifically said, along with all the other agencies, that there are no signs of an abduction. When I present that to Dawn's response is there is no evidence that there was or that there wasn't. I don't know what that means.
It's a great question, right? I mean, it's a great comment. Like, what? Okay.
Because if you're saying, okay, well, they didn't say we have no there's nothing to suggest one way or the other. That's not what was said. What was said was there was no evidence of an abduction. That's it. They didn't say anything else about that. Is that just kind of double talk, like just standard, whatever?
Let me, again, let's go back to the master class of Alec Murdoch. Maybe, perhaps, I'm not sure. You get 3 answers for one thought. Guess what that's called? Deception. Okay. And if you listen carefully, remember from day one, what have I said from day one? You've known me for a long time.
You haven't left the house.
I haven't left the house because the 5-year-olds just don't vanish from, quote, the basement. They don't vanish from the basement. It's almost like you have to have the same, if you use the same logic that the defense was trying to use with Murdoch about the cartels showing up that night, knowing exactly that Paul and Maggie were going to be at the kennels and that the guns were going to be available, ready and loaded, yada, yada, yada. And you just go down that rabbit hole. Well, now apply that to Summer Wells. That a random abductor knows that Summer's going to be in that basement that day, and that mom was going to be outside by the trailer with grandma, and 3 boys were going to be upstairs playing video games, and somehow we're going to get in there and we're going to get this kid, and nobody's going to hear us. Nobody's going to see us. We're going to get her down the road and we're going to get rocking. Okay. Because, that's just what we do. We go abduct children. Okay. Well, again, I've said from the very beginning, that is a very high risk proposition for anybody that does this. And I've been studying these guys for years, as you know. I've trained law enforcement, many of them, including the FBI. I've had them in my classes. And so it's kind of like, okay, well, you've got to say to yourself, well, then, man, I need to believe everybody on top of the hill that what they're saying is, this guy's saying for sure, I know she was abducted. Okay, great. How do you know? How do you know? I would like to know how you know personally. Do you know, Josh?
Do I know how he knows?
Well, anybody. I mean, look how many YouTube channels have profiled Summer. Every single night, people are doing it. Okay. And
yeah, no, I don't know how to do that.
Well, exactly. Right. Exactly. And so it's like, eventually you've got to get to a place where you take the card team, for an example. And by the way, there are 60 of them in 10 different regions around the United States. And what they do is they come in within the first 3 hours, because that's what we call, the first 3. And statistically, if a child is randomly abducted, i.e. by a stranger, the whole purpose of abducting that child is not to take the child. The whole purpose is for deviant behavior, sexual deviant behavior, SDA. Okay? That is the whole purpose, i.e. the pressure has built up. And now that individual has targeted or is looking for a target. And again, you go back to the victim risk continuum. Okay? High, medium, low, right? Environment, situation, circumstance. What's the environment? What's the situation? What's the circumstance? Everything is on the low scale. It's way down here in the left-hand corner, okay, of that L. Now you change that one dynamic, i.e. you add age, 12, 13, 14, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then you change the environment out in a park, out in the street, coming home from school, on a bicycle, okay? Is that a low, medium, or high risk environment? Now it creeps up this way, okay? And the further it goes down the continuum this direction, i.e. towards high risk, then that child then becomes much more of a targeted event, i.e. a stranger abduction. Statistically, it's been proven 1,000 times. It's been proven. And when you talk about the card team, their solvability rates, right, is because the majority of abductions are family abductions. They are estranged husbands, estranged wives, et cetera, et cetera. Most of them are
Non-custodial parents.
right. Non-custodial parents, they're custody battles. Okay. And the child disappears. Okay.
Right.
And the card team gets called out, and the first thing they do is a victimology. And that victimology is the victim risk continuum as part of it. Okay. And they did that immediately. And what did they do? What was their conclusion? They went, no, not a stranger. See you guys later. Yeah, you got it, TBI. You got it, FBI. You've got it, Hawkins County. It's nothing that we can help you out with, other than we can help you out, fill some forms. We can do some canvassing. We can give you some media tips. We can help you drive, conversation, et cetera, et cetera. Keep your name out in the public. Okay. That's what they do. And after a certain amount of time, usually a week to 2 weeks, they're often, out, and they leave one liaison to the team in case some of the dynamics change. Notice they haven't come back?
Yeah, I have noticed that actually.
Ask Don why.
Well, he feels that there's corruption.
Where?
I don't know. Everywhere. Yeah, that was another thing too, because when I had spoke to him and I, said, about Ronnie Lawson, I mean, he said that Ronnie Lawson wasn't in charge of this investigation. How he came to that conclusion, I have no idea. But that's the impression that I'm under and have been for some time. I mean, is that the impression that you're under?
Yeah, the Hawkins County Sheriff's Department
His lead, and he's the sheriff.
Well, what's the lead investigator's name? I forget his name.
Pruitt, but he answers to the sheriff.
Well, Pruitt has every single day he comes to work and he checks the leads on Summer Wells. Okay. And if they're there, he chases them down. Remember? That was one of the last interviews he did. So that means he's in charge of the case. Until he's done, Ronnie Lawson is done. I.e., he says, we don't have the manpower, we don't have the resources anymore. We want to completely turn this over to TBI. Then there will be a press conference. And the press conference will go something like this. The Hawkins County Sheriff's Department has turned this case over to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and we are taking the lead now in this investigation. Because right now, they're like SLED, i.e. in South Carolina. The Sheriff's Department, right, stepped back, Charleston County Sheriff's Department stepped back, and they said, okay, we're too close to this circle. You guys take it. And guess what? That's what happened. But you notice who contained all the scenes early on in that shooting in, South Carolina, Hampton County? The Sheriff's Department. They got there. Mm-hmm. It was Sheriff's deputy. It wasn't SLED. SLED came in hours and hours later, okay, when things were getting buckled up. It's the same principle. It works like this all across the United States.
So what kind of evidence would there be, like, say, of an abduction? Like, so they say that they found no evidence that this was a stranger abduction. I mean, what kind of evidence would you need for that? I mean, would it be witnesses? Would it be footprints? Would it be cell phone data? Would it be, I mean,
it could be all the above. We don't know what they don't, we don't know what they know.
right.
Okay. People are just guessing of, well, I think this, I think that. Well, first of all, you have to go back and you have to do what they call a geographic profile. Okay. And so you have to look at the geography of the entire environment. Number one. Okay. Who the heck would have known where 110 Ben Hill Road was in the first place? Okay. And so then you have to connect those dots in
Never
relationship
thought about that.
you have to connect those dots in relationship to a forensic profile, i.e. a digital profile. And there are tools available. Trust me. They know everybody that came up that road with a cell phone. You just saw some of that in the Murdoch trial. Okay. Remember I talked to you a long time ago about Gladiator. You've heard of that, right?
Yes.
Okay. It's a little box and you drive and it picks up everything. Okay. With a search warrant. Okay. So you can betcha that was done early on, up 110 Ben Hill Road. And then there's also, some other things, some other tools that can happen, i.e. that they have access to. So they know where the cell phones were. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
They know when they came in and they know when they left. Okay. And they know where they were. And, and I often hear this idea about, she called 911. She tried on one phone and then she threw it down and she went to the other one. Okay. Because she didn't get any signal. So out of curiosity, here's a question. How did she call Dawn?
Facebook Messenger.
Without a signal? Asking for a friend.
That is her claim. Yes.
Without a signal.
Correct.
A Wi-Fi signal.
Correct. Maybe they were on data. I don't know.
Then she called 911 on a cell phone?
Yes.
That
And
requires
for some reason hers didn't work or something, and that she needed her mother's.
Well, everybody says it was ATT, and so she switched to Verizon, if I remember right. Her mom's phone was a Verizon and AT&T.
Right.
Okay. Okay. You know what's ironic about that? Even in the let's learn from the Murdoch trial. Okay. Remember in the testimony that Alec had was, and others, oh yeah, the cell phone coverage is horrible out there. How many phone calls did Alec make to all of his family and friends and 911 with this horrible cell phone coverage?
A lot.
That's why I went out and I did a video on just the cell towers. Okay, because it's a lie. It's a huge lie. Okay. So this is one of those things where everybody's focusing on the carrier, i.e., but they're not focusing on the signal. Does the signal get off of that hill? Well, how many times did TikTok work up there on her phone? How many TikTok videos did she put up on her phone? And
a lot.
That certainly looked like a good signal, didn't it? Because it worked.
Yeah.
How many
Right.
How many TikTok videos got pulled down? How many FaceTime conversations took place, including calling Allie that night while she was inside and the cops were outside? Did that signal work that night? The horrible signal? You see, these are the kind of things that you just kind of think about and you go, well, I'm not really thinking about that. That's because it's in the minutia details. And Alec Murdoch just gave us a master class of paying attention to the minutia details. You have to pay close attention to the minutia details. All right. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say her phone didn't work for a second. She threw it in the back of the truck allegedly and grabbed her mom's phone. That one worked, didn't it?
Yes.
Okay, but the reception, remember these reception towers are triangulated. They're three-sided. Okay, and each carrier has a reception capture point. So that signal comes into that capture point. Well, they're stacked on top of each other. And that's why when you see these things on towers, they're stacked like this because they're different carriers. Okay. Sometimes they trunk through the same network and they go to what's called a switching station. Okay. And in that piece of the equation, it sends the signal. It's kind of like a booster. It sends the signal out to a better Verizon tower or better AT&T tower. The place where that signal is the worst is actually down in that valley. Do you know how we know that? Because if you look at the search and rescue, AT&T brought out a portable signal booster at the search and rescue hub. Okay. And you can see it in some of the pictures. Okay. It's this gigantic antenna. Okay. Well, they do that. That's what they do. And they bring it out for natural disasters. They bring it out for, for communications, et cetera. Well, that one just happens to be for communication. But notice it's in the valley. They're on top of the hill. Okay. So these are the kind of digital footprints that you have to look for. And you can bet you that one day we will learn what that digital footprint is. And they're not going to show some stranger coming into the neighborhood. They're not going to show some stranger coming in the neighborhood. So I'll give you a little hint. In New York City, it's called the RTCC. Okay. You got the internet? Can you push this up?
Sure.
Look up the Real-Time Crime Center, RTCC, NYPD.
Real-Time Crime Center. What, the website?
Yeah, pull it up. See if it comes up. So while he's doing that, everybody, this is what's called the RTCC. Okay. They call it real-time crime. These are also what are called fusion centers. And post 9/11, during the Patriot Act, these centers are all over the United States. This one happens to be in New York. Okay. And what happens is, like when you go into, let's say Times Square, for an example. Remember they had a situation where they had a guy drop off, a hot dog cart or a car and there was actually a bomb inside of it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's because the RTCC picked it up as it was coming in. Okay. What this is a network of communication efforts. Okay. And it's called the Domain Awareness System, DAS. And this is a huge data center. Okay. And it's real time. It's not collecting data. It's watching data. There you go.
It was spinning.
Okay, that's one of them. Where's that? Portland?
Mesa, Arizona.
Yeah, that's not New York. So this is an RTCC. Okay. So every camera system, type in the company Fusus, Fusus. And by the way, that's all right. These are, by the way, these companies aren't spying on us, the law enforcement agencies. Okay. All they're doing is in high traffic areas, what they're doing is they're networking into available public networks. Okay. Go to law enforcement, see if they got something up there.
Real-time crime center in the cloud.
Yeah, you can do that. So what this is this ties, let's say there's a shooting at a school, worst case scenario. You're going to see this little demo here. It's going to tie all of these cameras in the school. When the school administrator presses a button, it lights up at the real-time crime center. Until that time, they don't see anything. Okay, so you see where it says community-owned cameras? And what it does is it can tie all of these networks together quickly. Okay, and so the real-time crime center could actually see the shooting going on, and they can deploy tactical units real-time to that particular event. Now, it's an opt-in program, for this company. I'll give you an example, right? It's an opt-in program. So the school has to say, okay, we'll let you see our cameras during an emergency event. Okay. And it's the same thing down at the other box. And what this box is at, this is just it's a juncture box. What happens is all the information comes in, and then it sends it to the RTCC real time. So all of this technology was developed post Columbine, post Parkland, all of the school shootings. Okay. And so there are a lot of companies out there that, have helped in the scenario. You see where the lock, it showed that it was locked because, meaning, they don't want the government watching them in the school. So it's locked until there's an emergency, and an administrator has to activate the system.
Yeah, it's encrypted. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's encrypted both directions. Correct.
And you need a key, which is the permission,
right,
by whoever to activate it. Correct.
Yes, and so these are the kind of things that are out there that DW doesn't have a clue exist.
Well, maybe he does tonight. Hi, Don.
Yeah, but this is just, I'm showing you some really high level stuff.
Right. Of course.
Okay. And these are the kind of things that they don't pay attention to. And that's why the minutia details become really important in the big picture. Okay. Look at Rapid SOS. I'm trying to think of some names.
On the Fusus website?
No, you can just type it in, Rapid SOS. Actually, you know what? Go to Gladiator. I want to show everybody what Gladiator is. It's just a black website. You won't be able to get in.
Oh, I won't.
But this is the box that they talked about in the Murdoch trial. Gladiator forensics. We appreciate your your sweet comments, guys. There you go. So I can tell you a whole bunch about this company, but I won't for security reasons. Okay. But this was the box that they testified to in the Murdoch trial. Okay. Now, these systems are in place, and you can go up to markets, look at markets, and click over into law enforcement. I bet you they probably have a drop down for law enforcement. There you go, to the left. Click on that. There you go. So this is what they call mission aligned intelligence. Okay. And so these are the kind of systems that those cell phones that day, they may already have the information. They're just waiting for other things potentially. I mean, these are the kind of tools that are available. These are the kind of tools. So, whatever this is saying, right? This right here, the mouth, it doesn't necessarily mean it's real. This is real. Just like Alec, when he thought, all of a sudden there's technology that, oh, you clicked your button on your car. Okay. Oh, you opened your car door. Oh, the bell went ding, ding when you put your key in, right? There is just so much technology available today that when the card team comes in, they go, what do we have? This is exigent circumstances. We have a child missing, click, click, click. Hi, Google, can I help you? Yeah, security department, please. Yes. Hi, this is agent so-and-so, such and such. I'm in such and such a location. We have exigent circumstance. We have a missing child, blah, blah, blah. I need you to ping A, B, C, and D. Now, just a moment, sir. Click. Right? And this is the way it works with missing children. So when they walk off of that hill, when the card team walks off that hill, this is they're very confident. They're very confident that this was an abduction. Very confident.
Right. They're
Either
just not
far
just
right-
saying it.
I mean, the feds have access to all these tools. This tool here was actually developed by the feds. And there's a real-time crime center right there at TBI in Nashville. There's also another office.
And so basically what you're saying is it's not like they look around, they kick the dirt, they measure a couple things. Like, that's not what's happening. I mean, this is a multi-layered data collection. And that's why if you hear Pruitt talk about they have reams, he uses the word reams of data. Okay. Now, that could be taken, I think that could be taken a few different ways, but when you have that, when you have reams of data, when you have them saying that there's no evidence of a stranger abduction, the parents aren't cooperating, they've lawyered up, everybody's still a suspect. It doesn't look to me like they're looking very far away, if that makes any sense.
Right. And so what would happen that day is, they're going to get everybody's phone. They're going to download them. Go to another company. Go to Celebrite, Cellbrite. And remember they talked about the UFED bag and the all right. That's and all that is a bag that just prevents signal from being emitted. Okay, so this is the company. See the Celebrite UFED? Upper left-hand corner. Okay, so what this company does is when you go into AT&T and you take your phone, they have a device called the UFED. Okay. Yes, the Mystic Rug, the TBI and FBI all have access to these tools. Yes, great question. Thank you.
Better than our very first one of the night.
And so essentially, when you go into AT&T, Celebrite has a couple of different sectors, and you can see them up there in the upper left-hand corner. It says Public Sector Enterprise. Click over to Enterprise.
Okay.
Man, we're giving these guys some free advertising tonight because they were in all over the news in the Murdoch trial.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not putting anything out that already hasn't been in the environment. Okay. Even though I talked about this a long time ago. Okay. So when you go into AT&T and you say, hey, I want to keep my phone number, but I want an Android. I don't want an iPhone anymore. Can you transfer all my data into the Android? And what does AT&T say? What's the salesperson say? Yeah, of course we can.
Yeah, it's an easy thing to do.
Yeah, give me a couple minutes.
Right.
Right. And they go back to behind the desk and they take two wires and they plug them into each phone, and then they plug that into a UFED. And that instrument transfers all the data. Okay. And what you didn't know is they're capturing that data too. Okay. Because you gave it to them voluntarily. Okay. And I'm talking about AT&T and Verizon and T-Mobile and any other network you go into, any other company. Okay. Because we want to keep our phone number and we want our data on the new phone. So they give you that option. Well, you want us to transfer the data for you? Yeah, of course I do. Okay, let me have your phone. Click. Okay. So now, think of this in a criminal solution. Now go to public sector. You have 3 people that say, well, this phone wasn't working, so I had to use this phone over here. And the investigators say, can I look at that phone and can we download the data on that phone? We can do it one of 2 ways. You can give me consent to do that, or I can get a search warrant. It's completely up to you. Oh, no, I got nothing to hide. Here you go. Okay. So they put it in a UFED, and all that information is downloaded instantly. And then there are intelligence solutions in software. And by the way, it's an Israeli company. They're the ones who broke the phone in the terrorist in San Bernardino.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. This is the guys. These are the guys.
Yeah, I remember that. Because that was a whole thing with Apple too.
Right. They changed how to get into it. That's not a problem. They put it in AI and the AI cracked it.
Yeah. So in the way that I understand it, so these are end-to-end encrypted, situations. And typically what you would need is the key, and the key is the phone itself, the device itself. But there are other ways. And I believe that all of these companies have, when confronted with a warrant, do have to turn that data over.
Right. And if they chose not to give all the phones over, well, then all of those records will come up on their phone bills. And they'll get a search warrant for all that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes plenty of sense.
So while they're thinking, oh, they don't have our phones, hey, you better think again.
From what I understand too, is that Hunter still hasn't gotten his phone back. That's as of, I don't know, maybe he has in the last, 6 months, but I've heard that no, he had never received his phone back. And Don claims that his phone was wiped after 3:30. Whether that happened or not, I don't know. That's the thing I'm not really sure of, because they can just make a copy of your phone, like that's what they do basically. They just
clone it.
Yeah, they clone your phone and then they have all that. So I don't know why anything like that would have been deleted. But that's the claim. Let's see here. Now, yeah, and I don't think that they're not going to wipe their phone from them. They're just going to clone their phone. Now, but not giving a phone back, that's something else, right? I mean, that's something completely different.
We just saw what happened when Murdoch tried to wipe his phone. Okay.
Yeah, it didn't go good.
It didn't go very good. In fact, they said, yeah, at such and such a time, he wiped all these things, but over here in the cloud, here's what he threw away. Oops.
Right.
Now, the only thing that worked for him is he turned the phone off. Right?
Yeah, Koberger style.
Like Koberger style. That's right.
Yeah, right. And so that makes a little bit more sense, and you put it into airplane mode or something like that. But Sunshine says, Chris, do you believe there will be an arrest soon? I know it's a very open-ended question. Soon is a relative term, especially in detective years, because I got to tell you, soon, well, in detective years, soon could be. Go ahead, Chris.
I think the investigation, there's something happening behind the scenes that we're not aware of. I really do. I think the CPS stuff or whatever is going on, you don't have children out of the house for a year and a half. That just doesn't happen by accident. That means there's a whole system in place that says, are these children safe? And now think about that. Month after month, a month goes by. Are the children safe? Yes. Should they go back? No. And now think about that. 18 of those months, if my math's right, and it's probably wrong, but there's 18 separate times there was consideration in relationship to progress with the totality of the circumstances. Now, we knew that in some of that time, Dad was in custody, but Mom was not. The biological mother was not. So the courts could have said, yeah, but the mom's here. Let's give them back. Let's return custody to the children, of the children to the family. But for some reason, the state said no. Now, we don't know what that reason is, because for two reasons. We shouldn't know, because they're minors.
Correct.
And there are gag orders that are put in place for that reason. Okay. But what we can surmise from that is they're looking out for the welfare of those children. They're looking out for the welfare of those children. So now ask yourself, how many of your neighbors have had their children out of their house for 18 months by the state of Tennessee. And if you can answer that correctly, i.e., what the reason is, then you're getting you're getting warmer, and why those children are not back at that house with that family. And it's got nothing to do with remodeling the home. I mean, yeah, that's probably part of the conditions, clean this place up, et cetera, et cetera. But it's deeper than that. It's deeper than it is a lot when the state of Tennessee comes in through CPS and says, guess what? We're taking the children for their own safety. They call it health and welfare, right?
Well, and that's interesting too, because Don claims that the reason that they were taken is because they were not safe. And then he went on to say, well, because, people are coming up here and stuff like that. Now, I think he was partially telling the truth about the it isn't safe. But also if the parents are suspects in a missing child case, and you have other minors in the house, and you believe that there is imminent danger, regardless of the past reports, that is reason enough to remove the children if they do believe that they are in harm's way, because they still believe that those children are in harm's way because they're not back home.
Right. And if you weigh the totality of the circumstances, because that's what the system is designed to do. Okay. There you go. That means their parents did not complete any assignments on their reunification action plan. Correct. Yeah. And Lisa, you probably know, you're probably somebody that works in that arena, and thank you for your service. You folks are needed. I can tell you, when I was early on in my unsuccessful career, we went to one house where, I met with the caseworkers and everybody, and my partner was there, a guy named Woody. Our assignment was to cover the CPS because they were going to impound the children. That's what we used to call it. Okay, for protective custody and take them out of the home. Okay. Man, oh man. Let me tell you, those things can go sideways like really fast. And it did. And we were in a Donnybrook before you knew it. So these are the kind of things where the state says, okay, let's get this right. Let's talk to the authorities, i.e. law enforcement. What do you got? Well, this is not a blah, 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 a random abduction. Okay, well, why? And they're not going to give them all the evidence, but they're going to give them a briefing that will substantiate if the other three children are at risk. And in that briefing, the CPS then will go to the court and present to the court, Your Honor, these are the reasons why we want protective custody of these children, and we want to place them into protective foster care. And that's exactly what would happen. And that's where those children have been. And nobody knows where they are based on the rules. And then the court will say, okay, well, let's measure the parents, i.e., let's give them phone contact potential. And then what they're going to do is they're going to gauge their behavior in relationship to that. If the parents decide, well, I'm not calling them, well, guess what? Strike one. And what if they do it a second time? Strike two. 3 strikes, you're out. Right? And then the state steps in and says, guess what? You've lost custodial rights. Have a great day. We're going to take care of your children, which is never a good scenario.
No, never.
Ever.
That system is created to reunify families when a problem is fixed. They're not they the last thing that, regardless of what anybody says, and I get it, everybody's had their own issues that have dealt with CPS. I'm sure that there are examples and outliers and things like that, but for the most part, they want the children to go back to the family, because that's the best outcome that can happen. Do you know how terrible a family has to be for the children to not go back ever? I mean, we're talking that's some serious stuff.
Yeah, no, and if you think about those good people that go into social work, CPS workers, number one, their job is so hard because there is just so much volume, unfortunately, in our world of just, poor children just being beat up. But these social workers love these kids. That's why they do it.
Of course.
And for them to get involved, they get involved in this with the ideas. And I've made, trust me, we had a family protection unit in my agency in my unsuccessful career, that they are dedicated human beings, very compassionate, very understanding, and they're good people. They want more than anything to work with a family and get that family reunited. But then they also, on the other side of that coin, have this sense of protection to that family, i.e. the children. And that sense of protection is really what drives their instinct. And so, there's a lot of moving parts here. And I just think that once in a while, things pop up where everybody, circles the wagons, and they're good people too. I have nothing against anybody on YouTube or anything. Even though they beat me up all the time, quite frankly, I don't really care, because it's not about me. And, they're good people. They want to help. They want to do all the other good things. But when we look at the totality of the circumstances here, it comes down to three people: Grandma, Candace, and Don. That's it. Now, whatever happened, we don't know. But that's what makes it so problematic. That's what makes it so problematic when you offered, you told me, the flyers.
Yeah.
5,000 flyers?
5,000 flyers.
Yeah. Okay. So pass them out. I'm sure you could get, 1,000 people to pass them out, and they'd be out in 5 minutes. You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see Don and Candace next to Sheriff Lawson or Ansley at TBI or whatever it is, whoever the PIO is down there. I forget her name. Earhart. I'd like to see them stand next to her with the media. Now we're cooking. I want to see them. You notice all the press conferences have been done with just the news, right? But if you look at Brandy, you look at all of her situations, that, and Trevor, all that in Idaho, they're standing right next to Chief Huff. They're right there. What do you need? How can we help? What questions do you have? What do I need to do? Okay. But when LE says everybody's still on the table, what does that mean exactly? What does that mean? I could give you an opinion. I'm probably wrong, but I could tell you this. It doesn't mean something good.
Right. Of course.
Right. So, those are the kind of things you have to measure, the immeasurable minutiae. And when you do that, if you go back and you take a look,
Well, Don B had a video today, and I've covered this probably 2 or 3 different times on this show. The district attorney, when he talks about this case, he says that it's made complicated by the players involved. To me, that is a direct shot across the bow at Don, Candace, Grandis, everybody on, in the house. Because why else? I mean, who are the players? Well, we know who the players are.
I watch Don all the time. He doesn't know it, but I watch him all the time. I love it.
Don B.
Yeah, he's hysterical.
Bam! Bam!
Love
Bam!
Yeah,
I like Don B. Yeah, he's cool.
He's got a great heart, just like everybody else. I mean,
no question.
But anyway, finish your thought. I interrupt you.
No, it's fine. It's just that the players that are involved, we understand that. But one of the things that I really do like is what I heard was the implications. There are implications of crimes that can't be defined yet, basically, is what was said. That doesn't sound good if you're Don or Candace.
With your kids out of the house.
That there are implications of crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a problem. I would be terrified if I was the parents and I heard that. But Dawn, check this out. So when I asked Dawn about that, I said, well, what did you think about the DA? He says, I think that's all a bunch of BS if he's really even the DA. I don't know what that means either. The hell does that mean? I don't get it.
Perhaps, maybe, could be. I believe, I think, I'm not sure. I don't remember.
I'm not going to dispute that with you, Mr. Waters. I'm not going to dispute that. And if you have it there in front of you, then I agree with it.
Yeah, here's this would be an interesting project for somebody. Go back and watch the 3 videos of Murdoch and look at the verbiage he used to deflect. And then go back and watch everything on DW. And then overlay that data on top of each other and see if there's any correlation. Just out of curiosity to see if anything works.
Just kind of lay that over the top. I'm not going to dispute that with you, Mr. Waters. It's just that at that time that I was thinking, oh no, I got a bunch of pills in my pocket.
Right, exactly.
It's just ridiculous.
Right. And to think his son watched his father pull the trigger. That gives you an idea of what the human spirit is capable of. And then almost immediately thereafter, make a phone call to say that my family has been murdered. And there you are standing, there, and that individual's the one. That's why I don't get. That's why you look for peripherals. What I'll call it peripheral. Okay, and I mentioned this on one of my programs. I said, familial memory, meaning they're familiar with something. If you look at the body camera of when the first officer gets on scene, Alec is in the far left-hand corner over by those cages when the officer showed up. Why did he choose that spot? Because you see well, he was familiar with it. And then when you look at the defense, when they put the line, and the prosecution did a great job, by the way, the line of trajectory. If you look at that line of trajectory, it's exactly where Alec Murdaugh was standing when the cops got there on the scene. And I did a whole show on it, pointed it out. And so now if we take a look at what's been going on here, right? For what are we into now? Quite some time. But you're gonna send all these flyers. Okay. Yeah, I don't remember, but I don't dispute what you're saying. Thank you, country girl. Yeah, look, that's familiar terminology. I forget. I'm not really sure. Yeah, but we were young then. Okay. I mean, all of these. And let's just take, hypothetically, let's just take Mary and Jeannie out of the equation. Okay? Let's just take them out of the equation. But what about the other one? You have to add her to the equation because she's not related to them. But she filed a report as well. And in fact, if we listen to, I think he said it on your show, they read 3 statements to him.
Yeah. Yeah, as much as I've tried to forget that show, yes, that's what happened.
Okay, so who are the 2? Okay, we know who that is, J and M. But who's the 3rd? Oh, that's R. So everybody that's circling the wagons around J and M, does R deserve justice?
There was only 2 statements, brother. The third one didn't make any sense.
Because he didn't remember.
I don't remember. My eyes were filled up with spackle.
Well, but if you think about that, if you look at statistically, right, do a little homework and find out how many victims child predators have had in their lifetime, statistically. Think about that. How many people in your chat tonight have been victims of predatory behavior?
A lot.
Yeah. And that's why I love my channel. And folks, if you have not subscribed to this channel with Josh, please hit that subscribe and like button because we're in the same tune for predatory behavior. I don't hand alcoholics bottles of beer because I feel sorry for the delivery man. Hey, the Budweiser man that dropped him off at the bar, I feel horrible. I don't feel horrible for that person. And I don't hand somebody a bottle of beer who's an alcoholic. So you've got to go back to the factory who made the Budweiser. And in this case, you've got to go back in history, and that's what they call a suspectology. And by the way, they did this probably within the first 2 days. Okay. The first thing they did, I guarantee you, is they picked up the radio and they said, run this guy around the world. That's what they call it. And the dispatcher sat there at her computer with NCIC and discovered he had a rap sheet and said, oh my, stand by. Chicka, 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 chicka. And all that information went out into the field, okay, quickly. So now, if you think about that, does that have any relevance? Like everybody says it's about summer. Does it have? So let me ask you this. Is Summer able to speak for herself?
No.
So if her father's action has no relevance, then does it have relevance for her voice?
Yes.
And this is why it's important. If hypothetically, shifting gears, if for an example, Ted Bundy was captured and he had killed 6 women already, wouldn't you want to know about the first one?
Yes.
Before you asked him about the last one?
Of course.
So it has relevance.
Yes.
And this is why Jeannie and Mary and are so important, because their relevance was they came forward. And remember, they came forward. Actually, it was Trish, I think, the daughter, on a whole other YouTube channel. Not mine, not yours. She'd gone up on another channel and said, my mother was a victim.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that you didn't contact Mary and Jeannie to make them press charges?
No, not at all.
Oh, no, I was just, clearing this up.
Right.
This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I know where you're going. It's all in the glasses. And so, but now Trish did call me and gave me her mother's phone number after she had already gone out into the public.
Mm-hmm.
And I did call them at that time. And I said, help me understand what you're talking about. And I believed them. I still believe them. The police believed them. The DA believed them. And evident of the fact that Don admitted the cops came and interviewed him. What was that? Make believe? That's not make believe. That's called reality.
Yeah.
That's called reality. So, it's just one of these things now where it's relevant because we don't know what happened to 5-year-old Summer Wells. But we do know there's a victimology familiarity to 5-year-old girls from the age of 12. And he's in his late 50s now. I would submit to you, how many others are there potentially? Because I know at least 7. 4 of them didn't have as strong of a case, but they were still victims. And I know that 3 of them got their statements read to a guy in jail. So I don't hand that guy a child and say, you know what, you did this a long time ago. Here's a kid. See if you do it today, because I'm sure you've been forgiven. Okay. Well, maybe, but he'll be held accountable by God. Because remember the repentance process, you have to give back what you took. And sometimes you can't give that back. it's too late because you took it. And just like Alec, he can't give back his wife and his son. And guess what? You can't give back a child their innocence once it's taken. And so Mary, in my opinion, did the right thing. Jeannie did the right thing. R did the right thing. And so did the other women that were discussed. And here's my book. You know, I have my book with all of the different names. Look at right back to the hippie house, right? Groceries, orange soda, you know. Here is the genealogy of the family right there. And I know you guys will all screenshot it. So there it is. Okay. Here's the other side of the family. Okay. So all these, Debbie, Cheryl, Mary, Sonia, Heidi, Jeannie, all of these individuals right here. This is my book. And I've had this from day one, the day I talked to Mom. And it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. In my opinion, I haven't left the house because nobody's given me a reason to, and I'd love to help if they would allow it. But I would require the truth, whatever that means.
Do you think that Summer's case is cold?
I don't think so.
There was a time that I did, but I don't feel that way now. And it's kind of one of those things, the ebb and flow, of the case. But, there are some days I feel like it is, or it has. And then some days I feel very optimistic. And lately I've been on the optimistic train, I guess you could say, and just hoping and praying that there is a resolution, and I do believe that there will be. And contrary to what people think, I would love nothing more than for Don and Candace to be innocent and Summer be home or found safe. Okay, I take no pleasure in anybody getting wrapped up in hurting their child, or possibly covering up an accident. And I don't know that those things have happened. I don't know that. But like everybody else says, the people that the watchdogs, they always say, we're here to call out bad behavior. What the hell do you think we're doing? Because the behavior of Don and Candace, no matter what you think of them, if you think that they're innocent, fine. If you think that they did something, fine. But one thing that we can all agree on, this is not normal. What is going on here is not normal. It's never been normal. And obviously there are people not telling the truth for whatever reason. And if that just sits fine with people, it just doesn't with me. I offered an olive branch. I asked the guy, hey man, what can we do to help you find your daughter? I don't know what else can be done. Those are the kind of answers that you'd get. And this is almost 2 years later. Okay. And he says, okay, ask him a question. You ask him a question, and then all of a sudden you'll hear, I don't have to answer your questions. Of course not. Of course not. But I'm not asking incriminating questions. I'm just saying, okay, where was this search? Was this, done? Have you talked to so and so? And it comes back with, hey, I get tired of answering these questions. Well, guess what? Your daughter's missing, and you have a fatherly duty for the rest of your life to figure out what happened to her and to find her. That's it. That's your goal. And if you don't have that in you, get out of the way. But you're not going to be looked at nice because it doesn't make any sense.
There you go.
And it's just it's frustrating to think, it always goes back to this. You think that I don't love my daughter? I never said that. I'm not saying anything like that. That loving your daughter and wanting her found, to me, are different. Before we close up here, Chris, I want to ask you one thing, and I know that you've heard this as just as much as I had. The one thing that you and I are accused of all the time is distracting from Summer's case. Have you heard that one?
I've heard that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, me too. I got a memo just the other day about it. And what do you think about that?
I'm glad they used my material.
Every single one of them.
Big distraction there.
Every single one of them. I've said this before, that even if, there's a lot of people that don't like us. That's fine. I'm fine with that. But your videos have shown insight. And by the way, you did nothing except walk in that house with a camera. You didn't portray anything any different. It's just, you saw what you saw, and it is what it is. I thought that you were actually really nice when you were talking about how, the house was in poor shape. You said, look, you can't help that you don't have live in a mansion or anything. I mean, I thought you were very, very gracious. And at the same time, as the first time I saw that, I went, oh my God. But you didn't do that. You didn't do that. It was that way when you got there.
Look, if people haven't figured me out by now, 2 years on YouTube, there's no hope. And good luck. What's really cool, it's not, I could care less, but what's cool in my head, it's like if they spend as much time actually looking and helping as they do criticizing, then maybe people will make progress. As you know, I dodged YouTube for 3 months while embedded in Idaho. Nobody knew. And then I got burned and behind the scenes. And next thing you know it, everybody was like, what's he doing at the press conference? Oh, he's looking for clicks and likes and all this other stuff on his YouTube channel. If that's how you feel, that's up to you. Can't help you.
How many videos have you done about that?
I did one, and that was to set the record straight. And then I disappeared, and I'm still not going to talk about it because that's not what I do. And those are the kind of things that, it comes with the territory. Yeah. It comes with the territory. Unfortunately, people are people. And I hold nothing against them. I don't know half of them, to be honest with you. Some of them are criminals. So I could care less about them.
What do you mean some of them? You mean most of them?
Well, not all of them, but
I said most. I didn't say all, Chris.
Yeah.
Don't take my words out of context. How dare you?
I agree. I agree. But it's those people that don't count, right? Because what's the scripture? Whosoever hath not sinned, let them cast the first stone.
Yes.
Yeah. So everybody likes to throw stones. No problem. I choose not to name people. I choose not to talk about, this or that, or, get in the, I don't have time for it. I wear big boy pants and I do big boy things. And if they don't like that, then maybe they need to figure out what they're doing on YouTube and get off.
And Canadian Cookie here says it's so awesome to see you both together again. I love it. I want to say this, and I do appreciate that, and thank you so much. Chris and I are never not together, meaning we stay in contact and we talk about cases almost every day, if not every day, at least every other day. It's a constant thing. And, we both have lives, and so we get together as much as we really can. Sometimes it's just spontaneous, and then sometimes we plan it out, but we're as solid of friends as we've ever been, and it'll continue to be that way. And I'm never not turning on Chris, and Chris isn't turning on me or anything like that. I think the guy, I'll talk about you like you're not here. I think that, yes, you were a detective, and you are still a detective, and all those things, but you're just you and Karen are just kind-hearted people, and I enjoy talking to both of you. And I always know that I could call you whenever, if I ever need anything, any advice, anything. You've even called me before when there's been a rough night on how you doing today? Like, I'm doing fine. You go, no, you're not. No, you're not. So you are. Oh, look, is Brandy here? Let me see. I think
that's
Brandy
a good woman.
She's
a good
awesome.
mama.
And take that right there for what it is, folks. It's just, we love you, Brandy. We really, that we do, and your family, and Tyler, and your children, Michael. Yeah,
she knows.
I think about you guys a lot.
God knows that she knows, and that's all. That's the only thing that we all strive for, right? I mean, if people, if you think about it, I mean, you go back, everybody's like, you're looking, you do this, you do that, it's because you need the whatever standard issue. Here's a shocker for you. Those people that say that. Hey, I was on the Oprah Winfrey show years ago. I could care less. Ask anybody that knows me. I've been on all kinds of stuff. People don't even know. You don't have a clue. Because I don't go around wearing it on my checkered shirt.
And you are wearing a checkered shirt.
That's right. That's why I don't go around wearing on it.
What about Jerry Springer? Did you ever go on there?
I should have been. I should have been. Because the reality here is, all of us, okay, all of us are just dirt. We're organized matter, dust to dust. And at some point, all of this will come to an end. All of it. For some, it comes to an end a lot quicker, unfortunately. Our family was one of those that experienced it. Your family experienced it. And guess what? That teaches you a lot of empathy. It teaches you patience. It teaches you kindness, hopefully. Today, people have a bad day at work. And guess what they do? They go to the internet, they pick up a keyboard, and they take it out on somebody else in an anonymous avatar. And guess what? That's more about them than it is anybody else. It's not about me. People can say all they want. I don't care. I've been shot at 3 times. I'm still here because God has a purpose for me, whatever that
I'm
is.
sure it'll be like 5 or 6 by the time you're done.
I hope not. They were both, all 3 were scary experiences, but exactly. I still have to get that sound effects. And
I'll get it. I'll get it to you.
okay,
get it
well,
to
the other one is you got to do the one. It's a house, from Alec when on the 911 call.
Oh yeah. Is it a trailer? No, it's a house.
Yeah, it's a house. Good. And
I won't dispute that with you, Mr. Waters. I'm just saying I don't remember.
And that's the foundation for if anybody, everybody that knows me, I mean, they come up with one case, the Michael Crow case. They come up with them. By the way, they're going to make I'm getting some wind that they're making a documentary.
Oh, excellent. So that's great news.
It's going to be a rock star.
Are you invited to that?
Well, I'm sure they're going to play the stuff that I'm involved in, but the world will see now the other side of it. And by the way, I will be accepting apologies, and when that all comes together, but I forgive you already, because they don't know.
Oh, Chris, we all know what you did.
Right. I arrested him, and I don't think anybody has accepted my challenge yet to go to the arrest reports and read who the arresting officers were.
Mark Risley, and I can't remember the other guy's name. Clater. By the way, did you know that you're the only cop in the history of the world who's ever actually been the judge, jury, and executioner in a case? I had no idea that detectives or even people that give polygraphs or anything like that, I had no clue that you could just forego everything and put kids in prison. I had no idea. Or people in general, not just kids.
Yeah.
I had no clue. That's amazing. That's too much power, Solicitor General McDonough.
And if you think about that, right, here's the weight of that, in my opinion. The Michigan case is going good, by the way. Go read my community post today.
Sure will.
Here's the reality. Go read the reports.
It's all there.
It's that simple.
Why would they do that?
And out of all the murders I've ever worked, I get one. I get one that says, hey, you did A, B, C, and D. And
weren't you Officer of the Year that year too?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was Employee of the Year for the entire city that year as well. In fact, they had a proclamation that day. Go figure. If you look at some of my old pictures, it's behind me. Yeah, no, the Lord knows my heart. That's all that I care
first
about.
of all, I would implore people to figure out what a class action lawsuit settlement is, because I recently came into some money, Chris, from a class action lawsuit settlement that I had no idea that I was involved in. I got a check in the mail for 16 cents the other day, and it was just out of nowhere, and it was unbelievable. And I gave it to Peyton and told him, hey, buddy, I know this is a lot of responsibility, but here you go. I'm going to give you that 16 cents. Class action lawsuits it's like he got sued. Yeah, well, so did like 45 other people that were named in the class action lawsuit. That's how those work. Anybody that filed a paper, anybody. So it's just
here's an irony. If you go back and watch the 48 Hours piece that everybody plays, can I talk about this for a second?
Yeah, please.
So that's Mary Ellen that's Mary Ellen Attridge, defense attorney for Josh Treadway. and they were on a show called Rick Roberts. I had no idea that 48 Hours was in the studio with them because I was driving in my car. And they were, just out there saying whatever they wanted to say. And this was before the internet. Long story short, I called in. And anybody can go listen to it. It's on YouTube.
Oh, I watched it.
You watch it? Can you play it? Can you play
I
it?
can't.
Let's play it. But I'm going to set the play because this is the reality. I called in and I told the defense attorney she was lying. And she knew it. And because they framed Richard Tuitt.
Yes. Yes.
They framed Richard Tuitt. And guess what I say on this video? Do you know where? Can you find it, Josh? Do you know where it's at?
I think I can. I believe.
And this will be the Crow case. And let me ask you a question. If I thought I was guilty of anything, do you think I would have done that?
No. And she was kind of pissed that you called in too.
Yeah. And the other side of it, she knows that I filed a restraining order, told her the county ordered her to stop lying about me. And she shut up from that day forward.
Okay, I think I found it here. Hold on.
Yeah, play it for everybody. And anybody that knows, if you listen to all the chatter out there, okay, here you go. Yeah, there it is.
Welcome to the Rick Roberts Show.
On the same day the case is dismissed, Detective Chris McDonough calls into this radio show to defend his role in the interrogation process.
I did not wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and sit down and say, you know what, today's the day I'm going to plan.
Okay, stop it. Just for a sec.
Yeah.
So that's during the CVSA, by the way, computer voice stress analysis, and the boy's dad is sitting to the right, just out of the camera, and that's where I'm going over to greet his father. Next.
Right. Joshua Treadway for murder.
Well, I don't think that
ridiculous.
anybody, Detective McDonough, I don't think anybody is saying that this is born of hostility rather than stupidity.
If I may finish, secondarily, on top of that, videotape it at the same time. It's ridiculous.
I love that. I love that part. I'm gonna railroad 3 kids and then videotape it at the same time.
I am in a job to bring justice to that family, but I'm also in a job to bring justice to Mr. Tuitt if, in fact, he is not the perpetrator.
Do you think those detectives crossed the line in those
What's
moments?
your definition of crossing the line?
Doing what you're not supposed to in an interrogation.
I don't think it was an intentional thing on their part.
What's that?
No, go ahead. That Karen is going to walk away from.
He just gave the police what he thought they wanted to hear.
I think the Escondido Police Department acted within the scope of their responsibilities, absolutely.
Though he wasn't there for the most grueling part of the interrogations.
Stop the tape. What did you just hear 48 Hours say? Back that up. And this will put this to rest.
Though he wasn't there for the most grueling part of the interrogation.
Thank you so much.
There it is.
Guess what, America? I wasn't there. In fact, that in that room is Mark Risley. That is not me. That is Michael Crow with Mark Risley on the left.
And who's the other guy again?
Huh?
Who was the other guy again?
Mark Risley and Ralph Claters on the right. Escondido Police Department. That's not me. He's asking me a question about Escondido PD, and he's showing me their interview. And everybody says that's me interviewing him. That's not true.
No.
Go. Say it again. Let him play it.
I love it.
Though he wasn't there for the most grueling part of the interrogations, Chris McDonough sees things differently.
Yeah.
End of story. And what do I see differently? I said Richard Tuitt may not be the guy. That's what I said differently, America. And guess what? I was right. I was right. They put an innocent man on trial and they drug him through the mud. And guess what? They found him not guilty and he walked to this day. So here's the question. Who did it? There's a book.
I know. I have a good idea. I think it might have been the brother that was next door to her that told his friends that he wanted to kill his sister. And then one of them said, I'll help you. And then the three of them. Oh, yeah. Also, the brother that wrote about wanting to kill his sister. And the brother that was playing video games while they were processing the scene. That's just my opinion. I mean, goodness.
Well, you just heard it. That was Dateline NBC and 48 Hours, the other piece together. Yeah. And guess what? They just said what the truth was. You heard it from them. You didn't hear it from me. They were talking to me about Escondido, what I thought of their interview, not mine.
Well, I think it was just a coincidence that her brother talked to his friends about killing her, and then she ended up dead just a couple days later.
Well, you know what? Well, it's still the rumors and the truth are two different things, and people, they come up all the time. Well, they talk about the Crow case. That guy is this, that guy is that. He's a crooked cop. He threw those kids in prison and all this other stuff. No, I didn't, and no, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm nothing even close to that. In fact, I guarantee you nobody will take the time to play that because they're about clicks and views, not about me. They use me for clicks and views.
I've noticed that too. Like when they put like at the lab, and then I'll see it like come up in my mentions, and they get like 300 views, and then when they do that, they get like 5,000. And then they do the same thing with you. It's like, they can't just do standalone stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't tag anybody in my videos ever. Never.
Yeah. The welcome to my life there. I've worked over 300 murders and they come up with one thing. I'd like to see them come up with the other 299 and talk about them. Would you?
Another thing that I heard though, Chris, and I don't know if this is new or not, but didn't he get fired? No. Discipline? No. Was he in trouble? No. Have you heard that one? That he got fired for that?
Who's that?
People say that you got fired for the Michael Crow case. Which is stupid. What's that?
News to me.
Me too. Chris, I'm going to let you go. I thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure to have you. And by the way, check that out. I'm going to actually I'm going to link this video in the description because if you don't take our word for it. And by the way, also don't take your favorite YouTuber, your favorite crackhead YouTuber's word for it either. Don't do that either. Listen to the documentary 48 Hours. It's all there. It's all there. Okay. All right. And by the way, I believe the reason that the case was dismissed was because one of those two detectives, not you weren't there, may have implied leniency.
Yeah. And what happened was, if you read what the courts, how they ruled, the challenge that the city had, the city of Oceanside, is I kept getting kicked out and then they kept pulling me back in.
Right.
And so the courts ruled that the statement taken by Clater was given under coercive in nature. i.e. through promises of leniency. Essentially, what I understood happened, and I wasn't there, you just heard it, is they said to him, if you tell us Karen's coming by.
No problem.
And Karen says, hi, everybody.
Sorry, Karen, for keeping Chris so long.
Essentially, the court said, if you can't use that statement because it was promises of leniency, i.e. Claytor, I guess, said to Michael, well, if you tell us, we'll talk to the DA and we'll see if we can get you a deal. Basically, that was the gist of it.
Right.
Well, that's coercive in nature. You can't do that.
You cannot do that.
So the court threw it out, rightfully so. Okay. Aaron gave a hypothetical. If he would have done this, this is how he would have done it. That was given to me through the CVSA interview. I did a CVSA interview with Aaron and with Josh. And in the interview with Josh, the reason I got involved, I was sound asleep, my phone rings, and it's my boss. You need to get to Escondido. They have a kid in custody for stealing a knife involved in a murder. Okay. On my way. I get there. I do a CVSA on this kid, and he is in custody for possession of stolen property, i.e. this knife that's involved in this murder. So I do the CVSA, and he fails because the question was, did you steal this knife? One of the questions. It's like a polygraph, right? They call it junk science or whatever they want, however people, call it. The same thing as a polygraph, only, it measures voice stress analysis, i.e. the larynx and a couple other things. Long story short, I said to him, I said, look, this machine's telling me that you didn't steal that knife. And he looks at me, he goes, Detective McDonough, he says, thank you for believing me. And I said, well, look, pal, this thing's saying you didn't steal the knife. He goes, I didn't. And I said, well, what happened? He said, well, I just told him that. So I wouldn't get in trouble, and given me by Aaron. I said, well, I'm going to go out there and tell them that you're, telling me the truth, and we're going to do this machine again. So I go out and I tell them, and they say, hey, this isn't your case, number one. You're with a different agency. And, so go back in there and ask him the questions again and see how it comes out. I said, sure. So I go back in. And by the way, his father was there out in the lobby. He signed all the forms, all three, two of the three, because the other parents were with Escondido. I think Michael was in juvenile hall or something. Anyway, long story short, I said to him, we're going to rewrite these questions, and I'm going to ask you this question again. And he passed. So guess what? Everybody, here's another 911 call coming in for everybody in America. Escondido unarrested him because of me. And they sent him home that night. Think about that. How did that happen? Well, that happened because of me. And this is why, I kept getting thrown out, because they knew my role in this was not what everybody was alleging. And they went shopping for, a judge, and a judge kept putting me back. And I think I got kicked out twice of the lawsuits.
Right.
But anyway,
just for everybody, that link to the video that we just played is pinned at the top of this chat, and I will also link it in the description. You can figure it out for yourself. It's not rocket science, and it is not very confusing at all. Just so you know. So anyway, but Chris,
we're done.
Thank you so much. And 2 hours, it just goes by so fast. We'll do it again soon. And I just really appreciate you being here and get some sleep. I know you're on different. You're in different time or a different time zone than me. So enjoy your night, Chris. Thank you.
Thanks, bud. I'll see you in a bit.
Take care.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Lap Rats.
Well, there it was. Great show as always. Good to have Chris on the show. And thank you guys for being here. Like I said, that link is pinned up at the top if you want to check it out for yourself. Enjoy. Are you okay, Josh? You look sleepy. I'm all right. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you. Let me make sure. Hold on. A single mom of 4. I love Josh and Chris. They work great together. Thank you. I think so. Thank you guys for, by the way, I don't know where Tammy went, but it looked like she gifted like 20 memberships on the other side on the other live. And I want to thank her. It didn't show up here, but she's always so nice and generous and such a very, very lovely thing to do. Thank you guys so much. And we'll catch you next time. Take care.
There is no investigation. This boy has.
There is not, really? It is to me.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
But I have to put her on the side and worry about the boys.
There is no investigation. This boy has.
There is not, really? It is to me.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
But I have to put her on the side and worry about
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
There is no investigation. This boy
There
has.
is not, really? It is to me. Right, idiot.
I've done my best. It's hard, you know, that's real tough.
But I have to put her on the side and worry about the boys.
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
Don't say any F's and stuff. Live from the NVD Production Studios, you're in the lab with your host, Joshua Diaz.
There is no investigation. This boy has
not relating this to me. But I have to put her on the side and worry about the boys. But I have to.
There is no investigation.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
But I have to put her. But I have to put her on the side and worry about the boys.